HHA, HCDD, HLB, HLT, HHC, and HHFC to honor the 56th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act with Affordable Housing Day.
Thank you. Mayor and colleagues and those in the chambers, before you we have several organizations that we are going to acknowledge today. I acknowledge them because they're doing heavy lifting work around affordability and housing, and Mayor Whitmire, you've given your administration a charge to make Houston the most affordable in the city, and oftentimes we get to interact with that work with our housing department, but today the partners that supplement and complement and lead in various ways of housing affordability, land development, permanent affordability, stabilizing families, working with our veterans, they're here today. So in 1968, in April, the Fair Housing Act was passed to prevent housing discrimination against people seeking a mortgage and or housing assistance. And so we have a snapshot of the leadership in terms of intellectual, but also our program leaders that are doing this work in the city days in, days out, and for decades with many successes. So whereas on the 56th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act, which is in April, but Mayor Whitmire, they wanted to make sure that you were here and present to do this before you. The city of Houston highlights access to safe, stable, and affordable housing as a fundamental right and the cornerstone of thriving communities. And whereas the city of Houston recognizes the critical importance of addressing the housing needs of all residents and is committed to fostering equitable access to housing. And whereas Affordable Housing Day celebrates the efforts of organizations that have dedicated themselves to addressing affordable housing in our community and for decades. And whereas organizations such as the Housing and Community Development Department with the city, the Houston Housing Authority, the Houston Land Bank, the Houston Land Trust, the Houston Housing Collaborative, and the Houston Housing Finance Corporation have been steadfast allies in the fight for housing equality. They've worked tirelessly to provide affordable housing options, to advocate for policy changes, and to empower Houstonians to achieve housing stability. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Thomas. You're certainly demonstrating your experience and knowledge and commitment to affordable housing by bringing these leaders to council today. All I can say is, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people are depending on you. Yeah. So even staff, board members, let's go to work. But thank you for acknowledging our plan to make Houston the most affordable city in the nation. It can be done, and thank you for being here. And it's my honor, therefore, as John Whitmire, Mayor of the City of Houston, hereby proclaim May 14th, 2024 as Affordable Housing Day. Thank you.
So we do have a substantial number of representatives here. So Mr. Northern, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, your staff, and then the representative from each one to quickly introduce everyone, and then we'll have a photo, okay? Yeah.
So before we do that, I'll briefly say a couple words. First, I want to thank Mayor Whitmire and Chair of the Housing and Affordability Committee, Councilperson Tiffany Thomas, and all other council members. As you know, this is Affordable Housing Day Houston, and we just celebrated Affordable Housing Month, Fair Housing Month. So I just want to talk about a couple things in history. First, in 1937, the U.S. Housing Act was passed. In 1938, the Houston Housing Authority was created. In 1939, the Houston Housing Authority opened the first housing development to house citizens of Houston. In 1965, the Department of Housing and Urban Development was created as a cabinet-level position, and soon after, Robert E. Weaver became the first HUD secretary. In 1968, riots following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King created the Civil Rights Act, also known as the Fair Housing Act, which outlaws most housing discrimination and gives HUD empowerment and responsibility to enforce. 1970, Housing and Urban Development introduces federal programs of housing allowance programs and community development corporations. 1977, Housing Community Development Act consolidated programs into the Community Development Block Grant Program and created the Section 8 program. In 1975, Houston Housing Authority created this Housing Choice Voucher Program, and the City of Houston created the Housing Community Development Program. In 1987, the McKinney Act set up programs to deal with homelessness. In 1990, the Affordable Housing Act emphasized home ownership and tenancy-based assistance and provided housing and community development with home funds and block grant funding. This brings us to today, where the Houston Housing Authority and the Housing and Community Development Department of the City of Houston and many other housing partners, as you see some here today, is charged with answering Mayor Whitmire's charge to make Houston the most affordable city. Many partners are here today, some may not be, but I just want to say thank you for allowing us to come today. Thank you, sir, and we'll do a great job. Affordable housing matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just for the record, Mayor Whitmire, they invited me to the party. They had already organized and wanted to make sure that they were punctuated in the city's history and really come together publicly to say that affordable housing can come before the council. So thank y'all for inviting me to the opportunity to present this proclamation before you. So we'll do photos. Well, let's also
We do have a couple of council members in queue that would like to address the group. First, let me just say, Councilmember Thomas, I'm glad they invited you to the party to present the proclamation. You definitely have been a voice of the importance of housing across the country. And then, we have been talking about the city of Houston becoming the most affordable city in the country. Director Nichols has definitely made that bold statement along with Mayor Whitmire. And whenever we go anywhere in other cities and other places, people are talking about housing. It is one of the most prominent issues on the minds of elected officials and people all across the country. So to see this distinguished group together, it's going to take all of us to make sure that people have safe, affordable places to live and that they aren't discriminated against. There's no redlining and all of those things that have plagued us as a country. It's going to take all of us to make sure that we combat that. So congratulations and thank you for amplifying the importance of this day, this month, this year, this life. Because we all deserve to have a place that we can all call home. So thank you for the great work that you do.
Thank you.
Councilmember Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and Councilmember Thomas. Thank you for bringing forth the proclamation. Mayor, thank you for naming it in its honor. I know many of you all who are there standing, and I want to thank you for your commitment to affordable housing. As you all know, we don't get a lot of general fund dollars that come to the city for affordable housing, and so we lean on our partners and stakeholders in that affordable space to provide that housing. And you can't have a thriving city without affordable housing. If people can't afford to live in the city, they get pushed out to the outskirts, and then they're in someone else's city, and we lose our tax base. When we lose our tax base, we don't have that tax money to provide the services that the residents deserve. So you all play a critical role in that, and I want to thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you.
Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Councilmember Thomas. Mayor, thank you for acknowledging this really great group. I've been able to sit down with many of them as well. And when we start looking at the city where it's at now, population, demographics, we also need to keep in mind that as the city continues to grow, that we do find different ways, right, of this, what I call lasagna kind of layering, right? We got to figure out how these partners can continue to leverage each other's resources, but also have the same unified voice talking to the federal government as well and leaning on our partners. That, I attended a housing policy institute, and as we continue to see challenges across the nation, I feel very confident in saying that Houston is leading the way, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And so definitely highlighting today being Affordable Housing Day. David, thank you for the work you're doing at the Housing Authority. Everyone up at the podium, thank you for the work that you're doing. There's still a lot of work to be done, and I'm here to, in any way, shape, or form be of help. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you much. Photo time.
Very good.